Hey, Schmidlifers, Liz Applegate here. Before we dive into today's interview, I just wanted to say a couple words. I want to thank everyone for the support for the podcast. It has been so much fun for me to bring this back this year. And I just really want to let you know that I appreciate the kind words that are being shared. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you sharing the episodes. And it just really makes me, feel so many things just to be back. So again, just thank you so much. And I hope that we continue to have more meaningful conversations. And that leads me to the next point. I would love for you to be a guest. I know that I often share guests who have businesses and are entrepreneurs, and that really is not the focus of the Midlife Schmidlife podcast. If you want to start a business, awesome, I can help you do that. But you most certainly do not need to have a business to be a guest. Our next series coming up is going to be about reclaiming midlife. I've already had a couple discussions and conversations that I will be releasing, probably will be March, but I have room for more. So if you would like to be a guest, I would love to have you be one. We are going to be talking about different things about what it means to reclaim midlife, like what the heck? When does it even begin? Why do we have such an aversion to the word midlife? And so many other topics. If you are interested in being a guest, please head over to midlifeschmidlife.com/guest and just fill out the form there, and I will be getting back with you. I really cannot wait to include you in these conversations. And now about the guest that we have today, Valerie Albarta. Oh, if you have listened to the podcast Midlife-a-Go-Go, then that is the Valerie Albarta. I mean, oh my gosh, like I mentioned it in the podcast too. I was really fangirling over the fact that she agreed to be on the show. And we had a wonderful conversation. I don't want to give too much away, but this woman is wow. Just seriously, wow. She is someone who is just taking the ups and downs and curves and everything that life is throwing at her right now. And she is just an inspiration. So before I give everything away, let's go ahead and dive into the conversation with Valerie. Today, my guest is Valerie Albarta, and I'm going to read her intro. Valerie is a woman who wants to steer clear of sounding cliche at all costs. But honestly, I love midlife women. I think we're fabulous and offer so much to society. My concern is that others don't seem to realize this. I don't want us to be pushed aside by the emerging population. By sharing what I do, I'm trying to offer hope, inspiration, and motivation. Am I the best midlife cheerleader around? Probably not, but I like what I do and I love why I do it. Midlife is hard, but look at how we are handling it. Valerie, I'm so excited to have you on the show. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Liz. I really appreciate it. We're gonna
Yeah.
have fun.
We are going to have fun. We are going to have fun. So I'm going to come clean right before I hit record. I shared that I was fangirling a little bit because Valerie is on the Midlife podcast. Valerie also has a podcast for midlife women called Midlife-a-Go-Go. So that is, if you are familiar with her voice, that is where you know her from. And I want to invite everyone to go over and listen to her podcast as well. There will be links, of course, in the show notes. So Valerie, yay. I know. I was so excited when you accepted my invitation. And the reason that I was so excited is because you and I have been in similar circles for a while. I think that we we kind of dove into this midlife scene about the same time, about 2015. And I think we were probably in a blogging group, maybe. I was trying to remember that. Maybe a blogging group on Facebook or something like that.
Yeah, possibly, possibly. A lot of the midlife bloggers and speakers and coaches that I have come into contact with now have been in that circle
Mhm.
for quite a while.
You actually started your blog, Midlife-a-Go-Go, around 2015.
Mhm.
Can you
Yeah.
tell me, what led you just to say, "Oh, I want to start a blog?"
Well, I didn't know much about midlife, and but I knew I was coming into midlife.
Mhm.
And when I started menopause, when it hit me and I didn't know what it was, I was a little angry, mostly with my gynecologist, because I had never had that talk with my mom or anyone else about what to expect about it. So, there have been jokes about women and menopause and the hot flashes and all of the other symptoms. And I decided at that time, there's no getting around it. I
Mhm.
am in midlife, so why not accept it? Why not embrace this time? And at that time, I started looking around to see if there were other women like me who felt that way. And back in like early 2015, I wasn't finding very many.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so I told my husband, I said, I'm going to start a blog because I've always loved writing. Writing is my juice.
Mhm.
It's what I do, it's what I love. And so I told my husband I want to start a blog
Mhm.
about midlife women. And he said, midlife women, isn't that kind of niche? I'm like, well, yeah, that's the
Mhm.
point. Yes,
Right.
it's about midlife women. And I had no idea what I wanted to call it. And I was coming up with all of these crazy names, and nothing stuck really.
Mhm.
And we had just moved from Stamford, Connecticut, back to my house in Marietta, Georgia. And I think I was making a cup of tea one morning, and I was kind of zhuzhing and kind of dancing around the
Uh-huh.
kitchen. And the song that came into my mind, I think, was "Going to a Go-Go."
Right. Uh-huh.
And so I started thinking about that, and then I started thinking about midlife,
Mhm.
and then I stopped, and it's like midlife,
Mhm.
midlife-a-go-go. That's it. And I was so excited about it. And my husband came down and I'm all excited about it. And so that was the birth of the website Midlife-a-Go-Go.
Mhm.
And my aim was to, I don't want to say so much teach women because I never looked at myself as a teacher, but I wanted to be able to share with midlife women, share what other midlife women were doing. I had started a series called, oh, I can't think of what the name of it is. Oh my goodness. But
It's
it
all
was
right.
on my site and it was highlighting just phenomenal everyday midlife women and what they were doing. And actually that's something I may bring back to
Mhm.
the site. It's still there, but that was very successful. And then I was doing, writing different articles that pertain to midlife women.
Mhm.
And it grew and grew, and my audience grew. And
Yeah.
it was just, it really started as a labor of love and continues to be that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple places in there. First off, it's funny how we just wake up one day and we realize, "Oh, I'm in midlife." I don't That's how it hit me. It was sort of like, "Oh, wow, I'm turning 50 in 4 months." That was when it really kind of hit me. And just the fact that, and, like I said earlier, how you and I kind of came into this midlife scene about the same time. And I was doing the same thing because I had questions. I was not seeing the support. People, other women who weren't quite there, they didn't quite understand all the feelings. And I love that we both created what we needed,
Yes,
basically, and
yes.
the hopes to help other women. Here you're blogging, and then all of a sudden You just thought, I'm going to start a podcast. So,
Well, it seemed like a natural progression of the website. And you know what? I'm going to say this one thing. This
mhm.
is what midlife looks like. That's the name of the series. It just popped into my
Oh,
head.
okay. Yeah,
And
that's
I
great.
believe that's something that I'm going to resurrect because there are so many phenomenal everyday midlife women out there that can be
Mhm.
highlighted.
Yes.
But in terms of the podcast, so I knew nothing about podcasting. I had listened to several episodes of podcasts, and I said, I think I'm going to do a podcast.
Mhm.
And my husband, he's always been my biggest cheerleader. He's like, well, go do it. I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I will. I wasn't asking for his permission. I was
Mhm.
just letting him know. And I started out not knowing anything. I mean, I was scared to put my voice out there.
Mhm.
I was terrified. I thought that people would not listen. I thought, are they really going to think that what I say is worth tuning into? And the audience proved me wrong.
Mhm.
So that's a good thing. But my very first episode was just me basically talking about, being in midlife and with the reinvention in midlife.
Mhm.
And it was scary, like I said, it's something that if you're really not used to being in front of the crowd, so to
Mhm.
speak, and even though, your face is not shown, it's your voice, you're really putting yourself out there.
Mhm.
And I realized I'm kind of good at this.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
I enjoyed it so much.
Mhm.
And the art of podcasting, I do believe it's an art because I have listened to some podcasts that, not to say that mine is the greatest and that it is 100%, but I have heard some that are just really, I mean, there's no editing whatsoever done. And I prided myself on my editing capabilities.
Mhm.
I wanted things to be perfect. Of course,
Mhm.
you can't reach that pinnacle, but I tried. And, I give a lot of props to my guests. Without the guests, there really would be no show. I would
Right.
not sit around just talking about topics for
Right.
7 seasons by myself.
Mhm. Yeah.
So my guests are what made the show. And I had some phenomenal guests from the show.
Yes, you really did. And it was so evident that the show and the episodes are about the guests. It's very, very much how you highlighted that. And I would listen and take notes, sort of like, oh, I love how she did that. I want to do that too. So just so you know that it was your show was an inspiration to me as well.
Oh, thank
And
you.
yeah,
That's nice
yeah,
to hear. Thank you
yeah.
so much.
And honestly, the conversations, that's what I missed the most. You and I talked a little bit. Having a podcast is a lot of work. You said you're a one woman show, and so am I. You have the inviting and the scheduling, and then the actual interview, and then you've
The
just begun
editing,
at that point,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It takes a lot out of you.
Mhm.
I mean, I love the process, but it really was draining. I told you this earlier, I could spend up to 8 hours editing one episode. Now, those were the episodes where the guests were,
Right. Yeah.
like
Mhm.
as every other word.
Mhm. Right.
So trying to edit out most of that, and I know that's a natural thing in the way that people speak, but it's also something you don't want to have the episode filled with all of
Right.
that. So I did do some editing of that, but I never wanted to take away from the essence of the guest and their voice
Mhm.
because the show really was about them. I never wanted to make it about me, unless
Mhm.
it was an episode about me.
Right.
It was only
Right.
once or twice. The guests were the spotlight. They were in the spotlight. So it
Mhm.
was all on them. But
Yeah,
yeah, it can be time consuming.
definitely. So So here's a question that just popped into my mind was, so you have been blogging before and now you're doing a podcast. Did you still continue blogging or did you see that it shifted, your medium shifted?
I did try to do more blogging, but it did kind of wane a
Hmm.
bit because I spent all my time
Right.
working on the podcast. And
Hmm.
at one point I thought, well, I'll do transcripts of every show and then that's just it was just an added time,
Hmm.
stuck, as
Right.
it were. And so I didn't do that because actually in the beginning I was actually doing timestamps and I was
Mm.
going through each episode and saying, okay, this is something worth noting. And I was doing it manually and it
Oh,
was taking
goodness.
me far longer than I wanted it to. So
Hmm.
I stopped doing that. I did try to maintain my blogging. It wasn't on an everyday basis. It wasn't even on a weekly basis at sometimes, but I did try to stay in that in that realm.
Hmm. I just wondered that because I know, I mean, blogging itself takes a while. Maybe that's just me, but
Mhm.
but there's just commitments, and so you can only do so much. So,
Right, right.
yeah.
Yeah.
The podcast starts in 2018. And then the next thing I know is you're sharing about your TEDx talk at TEDx Charlotte. And you in that talk, I'm going to have links to this talk because it's wonderful. And so your talk is about the invisibility trifecta.
Mhm.
Can you tell me about that?
Yes, well, I will give all props. I did not come up with the phrase. I was speaking with a friend who had done a TEDx talk in, I believe it was uh, Detroit, or
Mhm.
maybe it was Las Vegas. And so I went to her when I was selected
Mhm.
to, to do the TEDx talk. So I went to her and I said, and actually it was even before I was selected. I was still in the midst of filling out the application.
Mhm.
And I said, Thea, what should I call this? I told her where my headspace was and what I wanted to talk about. And she knew that it was the crux of it was midlife women of color.
Mhm.
And so we talked on the phone for a little bit and then we got off the phone. And so I was kicking some ideas around and she was kicking some ideas around. And she sent me a text and it said the invisibility trifecta. And I'm like, that's it.
Mhm.
That is it.
Yeah.
Now I have to get people to understand what that is. And so, what the invisibility trifecta is, it concerns midlife women of color. And so, it talks about our invisibility.
Mhm.
And as midlife women, we all are generally invisible
Mhm.
to
Yes,
society.
sadly. Mhm.
And, but when you're a midlife woman of color, even more so.
Mhm.
And I don't think a lot of people think about that. But of course, being a midlife woman of color, it's my everyday existence.
Right.
I've been, ignored, I've been looked over, I've been chosen, next to the last. And I just don't, and it's not one thing I mentioned in my talk because there's the invisible woman syndrome,
Mhm.
where women of a certain age
Right.
feel as if they are invisible to the gaze of men. And I make it clear that it is so not just about that.
Mhm.
It's not about how we look to men and being pretty and wanting them to, cat call and wolf
Right.
whistle to walk by the construction site. It's so much more than that because life is so much more than that.
Mhm.
And it when you're a midlife woman of color, it hurts a little bit more
Mhm.
to know that the invisible woman syndrome applies to you and then some.
And then some. Yeah.
And one of the things that I said in my talk, and this just I think it's one of the most poignant things in the talk, is if a white woman says she feels invisible, imagine how much further in the background a woman of color disappears into.
Right.
And I just really want people to take the time to think about these things
Hmm.
and to realize that you have women who are still relevant, still vibrant, still knowledgeable. You know, we can, do you remember the really crappy commercial for Anjali?
Yes. You can bring home the
I can
bacon
bring
and
home the
fried.
bacon, right, right. You know,
Oh my gosh, that was
yes.
horrible.
But we can still do that. I mean, we're
Sure.
not doing it for the man, but you know, we are still viable beings. You know, we don't hit midlife, turn in our Vavoom cards, sit on our porch with the cat on our lap and
Hmm.
the blanket and sipping on mint juleps and
Right.
crochet. We are not relegated to that
No.
unless that's what we want to do.
Right.
But we cannot let society's assumptions rule our lives.
Hmm.
And so it's and when I say women of color, it's more than just about I am a black woman, but it's more than just black women, it's women of color.
Right.
And so again, you know, it's my call to arms in a sense to get it's not this message just not just for women of color. It's
Right.
for everyone to understand what is happening and to try and in
Right.
it.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. Well, as a white woman in midlife, I watched your TEDx and there were things I could, of course, relate to in your share, and there were things that I couldn't. But just knowing that and being aware of that, if we are going to talk about women's empowerment and women in midlife's empowerment, we have to think of everyone that's involved. And, a lot of white women, I feel, we've gotten on this midlife bandwagon. We're going to, we're going to like restructure how midlife looks. Well, we
Mhm.
need to invite everyone to that party, and and so I feel that it's very important that we all be aware of that.
I'm glad you said that because it's taking this the whole midlife women movement and just making it a bit more granular.
Right.
Is all that it's doing. You know, we start. I mean, look, let's you can start the hierarchy: women,
Mhm.
midlife women of color, and we are all a part of the same group, but it's just a bit more granular.
Right.
And again, I just really want, it would be great to have that ally
Mhm.
in midlife women as a whole
Yes.
when we talk about being invisible.
Mhm. Oh, yes. And something that comes to mind, and maybe this seems off base, but what popped into my mind when you were sharing is it's sort of like women's voting rights, like women's right to vote. There are
Mhm.
two stories there. There's
Yeah.
the white woman's right to vote, and then there's the women of colors or black women's right to vote. And
Yeah.
we need to include all of that in the story about women's right to vote. And so I know that I just went off on a tangent, but it's very similar. I mean, it's just like as women and us, just us supporting one another, we need to keep all of that in mind, the whole story for everyone.
Yes.
So it's a,
Yes.
and I'm just going to say to the listeners, it's a talk that is, I mean, I laughed, I cried, I'm tearing up just thinking about it. So, there were moments I was cracking up, and then the next minute you would say something and I was, in my teary eyes. And so I thought, wow, this is wonderful. Had you ever done anything like that before?
Well, I did appear on a panel when the group, I forget the name of the group.
That's a midlife brain right there.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I was a part of a group, the Women of Midlife,
Okay.
and but there was a certain, oh my goodness, it wasn't blog her, but I attended a conference in Las Vegas in
Okay.
2016, and I was on a panel talking about the act of blogging in midlife. And I laugh because on the outside, you know the images where you see the duck on top of the water, the duck looks calm, but on the
Right.
bottom, the feet are flapping.
The legs are going, uh-huh.
Yes, oh my gosh, that was me. On the surface, I looked calm, but
Mhm.
my knees were knocking. I mean, they were literally knocking against one
Oh
another.
my
I was
gosh.
so nervous. It was so funny when I finally got off the stage. I thought, okay, well, that wasn't that bad. But yeah, it was like 15 minutes of knocking. And I'm surprised someone didn't say, well, what is that noise?
That's so
But
funny.
other than that, I had not. And I will tell you, I do have these aspirations of being a speaker.
Mhm.
And I thought, I really had some nerve to apply for TedX Charlotte. And the events are usually held live where you
Mhm.
speak in front of an auditorium filled with 1,000
Oh
people.
my gosh.
And yeah, I really would have had to gone through therapy before I could done that. But but so that was a very good kind of a starter, a primer for me. I did not speak in front of an audience of 1,000, thanks
Mhm.
to COVID.
Right.
I
Right.
was in a small studio with maybe a dozen people,
Mhm.
and it was recorded on October the 9th of 2020. And I'll tell you, every time I look at my talk, I think, I don't know how I did it.
Mm.
Not just the fear. I mean, putting the fear aside, I was extremely ill on that
Mhm.
day.
Yeah.
I was the nausea was at an all-time high.
Mm.
I was dizzy. It was just horrible. It was horrible. And I'm not really sure how I got through it. I think willpower has a lot to do with it. I had been so looking forward for months to
Mm.
doing that. And I said, nothing is going to stop me. When I woke up, I was sick. I
Mhm.
did not say anything to my husband about how bad I was feeling.
Mm.
But I said, I have to go through with this. I have to do it. And so I put my big girl panties on, like literally my big girl panties. I had to put my big girl panties on and suck it up and
Mhm. Yeah, so you've touched on this and I'm going to dive right in because I'm remembering when your news came out and so I asked you before we hit record like when this all happened as far as
Mhm.
the timeline went because I'm when I look at your TEDx I don't guess anything, but I look at the date when it's published and I'm thinking, "Wait a minute. I know that they didn't publish it the next day or whenever, and I knew that you were doing the talk." So, tell us more about what was going on at that point with you.
Well, I'll go back to June of 2020. I started having some issues, some health issues that I kid you not, they all hit me overnight at the same time.
Mm,
I was nauseated, I was fatigued, severely fatigued, had a slight headache, and I was experiencing what felt to me like basically being drunk.
mm.
I, I've been inebriated a time or two in my life, back in my younger days.
Right,
I know
right.
what it felt like. But at the time, I really couldn't put a word to it. So I just kept saying dizzy. And my primary care doctor sent me to a neurologist, and I had an MRI done, and they found a lesion on the center part of my brain, the part that connects the left and right hemisphere of the brain. And at that time, my neurologist did not want to label it as multiple sclerosis. He thought I was suffering from vestibular migraine. And I knew in my heart that that was not it. I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV, but I knew that that was not the case
Yeah.
based on my instances of dealing with vertigo. And I was sick all the time. And during the summer, we were doing our coaching for the TED online. And a couple of times I had to stop. I was like, I'm just not feeling well. I have to stop this. And they said, well, if you want to just not go through with the talk, you can always apply next year. And I'm like, no, no,
Mm.
no, no. I'm going through with this. And there was
Right.
still another audition, a final audition to go through. But on the day that the TED Talk was recorded
Mhm.
on October the 9th, 2020, I was sick. I was nauseated and I was severely fatigued.
Mhm.
That Monday, October the 12th, I had a lumbar puncture. The second time that I've had that in my life. And I will tell you, when I had it the first time, I promised myself, as long as I was a Black
Mhm.
woman, I would never have another lumbar puncture.
Yeah.
But this was inescapable.
Yeah.
And that was the magic ticket. That
Mm.
was what finally convinced my neurologist that I had multiple sclerosis.
Mm.
And so he made the diagnosis, or he told me on October the 22nd. So at the age of 57,
Mm.
I was told that I had multiple sclerosis, secondary progressive multiple sclerosis. So all of that crap that hit me at one time
Mhm.
overnight, I almost didn't say anything to my doctor because I thought maybe this is part of menopause.
Mm.
Maybe this is just a part of getting old. Ladies, let
Mhm.
me tell you, listen to your body. She is so wise. She will tell you what you need to know. You know when something is not going right with your
Yeah.
body.
Yep.
Listen to her. She is giving you so many cues. Just listen. I almost pushed it aside
Mhm.
because I did not want my white male doctor to think that I was being paranoid,
Right.
which is kind of what happened about 6 months earlier
Mm.
when I went to him and I said, I'm not feeling right. I'm having these problems, these issues. I'm having these heartbeats that don't feel right.
Mhm.
And my arms feel like they just stopped working. And in
Mm.
September of 2019, he says to me, well, let's deal with the heart issue first. I'm going to send you to a cardiologist and let's not worry about whatever is going on with your arms. Whatever you think is going on was what he said.
Mhm.
It turns out those symptoms of my arms just dropping,
Right.
me losing that was MS.
Yeah.
That was multiple sclerosis as
Right.
early as October of 2019. And no
Mm.
one thought to look at that. Yeah. So
It,
listen to your body.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm just going to call this out. This is another instance of the invisibility trifecta. I mean, that's how I see it.
Mhm.
We hear it all the time
Yeah.
on the news. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. A lot of women, especially in the African American community, do feel as if their doctors don't listen to them,
mhm,
don't take them seriously. We'll get sent home with just get some bed rest and drink some orange juice, whereas our white counterparts will have a whole workup
right,
done and get prescribed medication. And 5 years later, the African American woman has, diabetes, late stage diabetes, or something,
right.
something more serious that could have been caught earlier.
Mhm,
And this is another reason why I say, and this is not just for Black women or
mhm.
women of color, this is for all of you midlife women out there listening. Be your own best advocate
Yes.
because nobody, I promise you, no one is going to fight as hard for your health as you can.
Yep.
And I learned that the hard way,
Right.
essentially. My doctor was kind of pushing me aside back in
Mhm,
September. But I will give him his props because he did steer me to the cardiologist who then had to send me to a specialist. And I did find out that I have severe PVCs, and I
Okay.
actually now have a little recording device implanted in
Hmm.
my chest to record whenever I have these things to find out exactly what is taking place. So I will give him the props on that.
Right.
But if he had really gone more in depth when I described to him, he said, "Well, what does it feel like?" I said, "Well, when I'm driving and I have my hands on the steering wheel, they'll just drop while I'm
Hmm.
driving because I just lose the motor
Right.
ability. I
Right.
just lose it. It only happens for, a few seconds, but it was enough to scare me."
Sure.
And he just kind of, well, let's not worry about that right now. And come to find out now that I know what the symptoms of MS is
Hmm.
and what I still experience when I'm holding an ink pen and all of a sudden my hand just goes willy-nilly.
Right.
Or when I'm walking and my leg just decides that this is the time that it wants to stop working.
Mm. Yeah.
So I'm fighting it as much as I can.
Yeah.
I'm a trooper. I
Yes, you
don't
are.
want to give in to it. I don't want to even think about the day that may come. I'm not saying it will come, but the day that may come where I have to use a cane or I have to be relegated to a wheelchair. I don't
Hmm.
want to look that far ahead. I
Yeah.
want to concentrate on the here and now and doing all that I can while I can.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that has been my motto for the past 6 months or so, because there may come a time where I can't walk down the street by myself without some sort of aid.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I do what I can now.
And you're still doing a lot.
I
It's
am
it's
still
it's amazing, Valerie. It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing even without an illness like MS, and yet here you are still doing a lot with.
well, I have taken one major thing I took off of and I did that back in July of last year, which is I put the podcast on hiatus at the
Mhm.
end of season 7.
Right.
And I did that for a very specific reason.
Mhm.
It was because I was tired. No,
Well, there's that. It's
yeah,
okay if that's the
there's
reason.
that. The podcasting takes up a lot of time. And when you have a disease like MS, you start to think about your life in different terms. And I realized that I kept putting off doing things that I really loved in favor. Now, I did love the podcasting, but my heart was really in my writing.
Mhm.
And so I decided to put the podcast on hiatus, as I said, to continue working on a novel that I have been working on for a couple of decades.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this novel keeps speaking to me. My two main characters, Twyla and Lula, have been just kind of going at it in my head. Come on, we need to be front and center again. And
Mhm.
so that's what I'm doing. I
Yeah.
am making them my priority.
Mm.
Yeah.
My goodness. Mm. So, such a wonderful message all the way around to quit putting things off until we think there's going to be the right time, until things align, the stars align.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's something that you really want to do, just
Mhm.
do it.
Mhm.
Just do it and stop making excuses.
Yeah.
And I say that because I was a prime example of it. I was using the podcast as another example. Oh, I don't have the time. Now, I really didn't have the time,
Mhm.
but if it's something that you really want to do, you make the time to do it.
Right.
And I was trying to fill up the other empty hours of my day with watching HGTV
Mhm.
or doing all of these things that really, in the grand scheme of things, did not matter.
Mhm.
And so I have shifted things in my life. I mean, there's been a whole paradigm shift for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm focusing more on Valerie and the things that I really want to get done. This book for me is such a labor of love. And I'm going to tell you, it's good. It is so good.
Yeah, it is.
And yeah, I took my horn. It is really good. And so for things like that that you want to do, if you want to take up pottery, go
Mhm.
do it.
Yeah.
If you want to start tap dancing, go do it. Get up off that couch.
Hmm.
The soap operas, the HGTVs of the world, the Investigation Discovery Channel, because that's another thing that I was
Oh,
hooked
yeah.
on.
Oh,
You know,
sure.
all of these things can wait. They're
Mhm.
streaming. They'll be there. You
Yeah.
know, they'll be there. Do the things that you really want to do while you can.
Yeah. Mm. Oh, Valerie. Geez, I feel like I could just go on and we could just go from here and talk about that because I feel like I could give you a soapbox right now and you could just stand up there be preaching to
Well,
all of us.
I will tell you, I do have a form of a soapbox that will be coming. I'm not sure when,
Uh-huh.
because again, my novel is right now my main
Hmm.
baby. It is really trifecta why midlife women of color matter. I
Hmm.
really want something to come out of that. So I will be starting a website. I really want something to come out of the invisibility trifecta, the
Hmm.
talk, the invisibility trifecta collective.
Hmm.
And I want to share the stories of women of color
Yeah.
in, you know, I, to be honest, I don't know what it's going to look like yet. I
Yeah.
really don't. But I also want to get on the speaking circuit. I want to start talking to women's groups, to church groups, to book clubs, to whoever will have me
Hmm.
sit down or stand up in front of a microphone and say, look,
Yeah.
this is what it is, and this is what we as a society need to do. So all of that is in my sphere,
Hmm.
and it's something that's important to me right now. I just haven't made it the priority.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you have a women's group and you need a speaker,
And you know who to get in touch with.
right, right, right.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what, Valerie? I can just already see that all of that happening for you. I mean, it's just to me so obvious. And I just see how your face lights up. We're lucky that we're looking at each other and I just see the energy and the behind your eyes and just how your face lights up. And I just see it happening. And we will be cheering for you and just yeah, it's
Thank you.
yeah.
Well, when you speak about your passion,
Mhm.
people know it.
Yes.
It's that you adopt a whole different demeanor.
Mhm.
And that's how I am when I talk about my novel,
Yeah.
when I talk about the invisibility trifecta, when I talk about there are certain things in life, like I said, yeah, that you
Yeah.
do see that spark behind my eyes because it's a
Definitely.
passion.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
passion.
Oh gosh, I love it. I hate actually to end our conversation, but I wanted to give us just a minute or two to go through the midlife hot flash. I sent you those questions late, and I apologize for that. So
Oh, and you know what? I never saw the
you
question.
never saw them. Oh,
I
okay.
never saw the questions,
So
and I was looking for them. So maybe they
I'm
went and, oh, okay, but that's okay. You know I'm
no.
fine. I'm quick on my feet. So
You
let's do
are.
this.
All right,
Let's
let's do
do
this.
this.
Okay. So this is just 10 questions, rapid fire or as rapid as we can make them. We usually end up talking about them, so we'll be fine. So the first question, super easy. Tea or coffee?
T.
Favorite all-time band or musician? Ooh, that's a good one. I had a hard time coming up with a because I have so many that I like.
Mhm.
So yeah. Favorite dessert?
Oh, lemon pound cake with lemon drizzle
Ooh,
icing.
yum. Yes.
Something that my mom used to make, especially for
Mm.
me. I miss it because I can't make it the way that she did, but
Oh,
that's my absolute all-time favorite.
yeah. Well, she stirred in about a pound of love in that. So,
Oh yeah,
that's what makes
yeah,
it
yeah, she
special.
did.
Yeah. What did you want to be when you grew up?
I told my husband this and he didn't believe me. So first I wanted to be a weather girl.
Okay.
And I would create using my Lego, I would create my pointer stick,
Oh, I
and
love
then
it.
I would close the door in my bedroom and I would point on the wall and pretend like I was doing the weather, this and in this part of the country, this is that. And then I thought I wanted to be a scientist because
Mm.
I was kind of nerdy, and that ended in the seventh grade.
Yeah.
And then after that, I really didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny how the weather girl, you're standing up and talking in front of people. And so
Yeah.
you're kind of taking that with you. So the fifth question, your current self-indulgence.
Oh, how do I indulge? Oh, this is something that I'm not supposed to have. My doctor told me to stay away from caffeine, but I kind of can't help myself.
Mhm.
I have caramel cappuccino.
Well,
That it's as simple as that. I love it, but I
hmm
try to restrict it, during the
yeah,
week. I try not to have it during the week. I may have a mug or two on the weekends.
right, right. Well, we won't tell your doctor.
Don't tell. Don't tell.
What is inspiring you right now?
What is inspiring me right now is my best friend Melody just wrote a book
Mm,
called Fear of Success. And it's very short. It's like 63 pages. And she inspires me. She doesn't realize how much,
mm,
but she has stuck to her guns for decades in what she has wanted to do. And it really wasn't to write a book, it was to start a cosmetics line.
mm,
And she has gotten her foot in the door now. I am so proud of her, and she just inspires me to
mm.
continue to follow my dreams.
Yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, that's a great
So
story.
when she listens to this,
Yes. Hi, Melody.
yeah.
That's such a beautiful to share that. So, what do you hope people say about you when you leave the room? So, just imagine you're at a party and then you say goodbye, and say Melody is looking at someone who you don't know and say, "Oh, that Valerie, she is so," what do you hope she says?
Well, I think what I want them to think, and then they'll end up, follow it with talking about it, is that she took all of the positive energy with her when she left the room.
Mm, yeah.
Because I really do try to be a positive person. I don't want to be namby-pamby and too juicy about it,
Yeah.
because I want to be real, and I am real. But I also want to be a positive force. But I also want them to say, "Oh, she's hysterical. She cracks me up." Because I think laughter is truly, I mean, laughter is good medicine.
Mhm.
It has been scientifically proven
Right.
that it is.
Yeah.
And so I try it in my writings, I really try to inject humor into it. And I try to do it a little bit in my TED Talk
Mhm.
and in my podcast.
Yeah.
So that's what I hope they would say.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that that's what I would say. What advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Stop trying to live in the eye of everyone else. Stop trying to please them. You don't need their judgment. Stop trying to bend to everyone else's will, and
Mhm.
stop, for God's sake, stop following the crowd. Be your own person. Be
Yeah.
your own woman.
Yeah.
You're going to grow up to be fabulous, but for now, be your own woman.
Yeah. Mhm. I'm thinking that there are many of us in midlife who need to live by that as well.
Yeah, yeah. My 20-year-old self really needed to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was a
Mine,
mess.
mine
I
did.
was a mess at 20.
Oh, I was too.
Yeah.
I was too. If you could be any animal for one day, what would you be and why?
A giraffe,
Yeah.
a giraffe. I think they are the most clunky, graceful things on the planet. I mean, you see them run, they
Yeah.
and I mean, they're graceful, but it's in a clunky sort of way.
Right, right.
They can eat from the tops of trees. They can see everything that's high above. And that's a giraffe is my spirit animal.
Hmm. I
Spirit
love
animal.
that. I love that. That's the only time I've heard that. That's a question I ask my clients.
Mhm.
And that's why I was surprised. I was like, oh my gosh, a new answer. So I
More
love
people should put themselves in the mind of a giraffe.
that's right. Clunky graceful.
Yeah, clunky, graceful.
All right. Our last question. What would you say to other women who are approaching midlife and maybe a little nervous about it?
Don't be afraid of it. If you just let yourself go and open up to the amazing possibilities that are just waiting for you to conquer, you'll be less hesitant to think about turning 45 or turning 50.
Mhm.
Just give into it. Don't be afraid of it.
Yeah.
It is an absolutely wonderful time of life. And I have to say, it is my best time of life.
Mhm. Oh, that's beautiful. Valerie, thank you so much. First of all, you did wonderfully on the fly. So I gotta say, but I don't know, just taking the time today and having this conversation with me. And it's been everything and more that I hoped that it would be. And so I just really want to thank you for sharing your story. Just to have you be part of my coming back season is wonderful. So thank you.